Well, welcome everybody to our March We Talk Art, and I'm absolutely delighted that we've got a nice group of people that tuned in today, and of course it'll be recorded for the people that can't be on today. And I'm very happy, Geoff, to have you with us, and looking forward to hearing your story and all about the Ludwig pastel story. So welcome from Littleton, Colorado. And I think we'll just go ahead and get started with that. If people will put questions into the chat, we'll try to follow those and ask them of Geoff as they come up. So anyway, Geoff, welcome. Thanks for taking the time. And I think Dana is there as well, right?
Yeah, Dina's here, yeah.
Dina, I'm sorry. And so anyway, Geoff, tell us a little bit about you. First of all, I know that you are a jeweler, maybe goldsmith, I guess, as a trade that you started out with. And so let's share that story, and then we'll go on to talking about the Ludwig pastels and how your dad came to start all that.
Okay. Yeah, that's my background, is being a jeweler. I was a jeweler for 27 years, and till Dad was looking to sell the business, and I think I was ready to jump out of the jewelry business, and I said I'll give it a shot, and I think he was happy to hear that, and so that's I took over in 2016, and I've been able to use some of things that I did in the jewelry business, been able to carry over here to making pastels. And so and yeah, I did a lot of repair work. I did a lot of custom work. I worked on a lot of high-end stuff over the years. Yeah.
What was some of your favorite things in designing jewelry and metalsmithing? What was some of your favorite things that you did?
Working with colored stones. You would, I guess you would get jaded to working with diamonds, because there was a lot of diamonds, but the colored stones were always fascinating, and you had to treat them a little bit differently, and a little more gentle, and but you could do so much. It seemed like you could do so much more creative with the colored stones, and so I really like that aspect of the jewelry business.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, there's some gorgeous stones out there.
Oh yeah,
I mean, just incredible. So I think from you saying that, you're kind of a colorist, obviously, and so that kind of was the lead into
yep.
doing so well and creating so many wonderful pastel colors and things. And I have to say, Geoff, you just had put on a promotion, I think, for what did you call it? The dark cityscapes.
Oh, the Twilight.
Or the Twilight cities.
Urban Twilight, yes.
Urban Twilight. Okay, man, those are gorgeous colors.
That was put together by an employee here in the shop.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, let's talk about Ludwig Pastels. And I met your dad quite a few years ago at I believe it was in Moab. He was judging a plein air event that I was at, and he was just delightful. And he took the time after the awards to go through and meet the artists and talk about their individual works and tips and tricks. And then one afternoon a friend and I were out doing some plein air painting on this really rough old road, and here come your dad and his friend that he brought along with him, and they were in their little vehicle, and they went on past us, and then they came back, and we visited with them for a while. So it was a great experience, and what a wonderful person. So anyway, with that said, tell us kind of he got started, because he was a great artist in his own right.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, he for 35 years he was an oil painter, and he had gone to the Chicago School of Art there. I think that's the one. That was even before I was born, and so he was an artist from way back, and we like to blame a local artist here for getting him into pastels. Lorenzo Chavez. He lives out in Parker. He invited Dad out to go plein air painting with him and some other folks. And Dad's out there with his oils, and Lorenzo said, "Terry, put that down. You got to try these pastels. You don't have to let them dry." And Dad really liked the medium, but he just didn't care for the colors that were available. They just seemed a little canned somehow. They were just not rich enough, or I'm not sure what he didn't care for. But he goes, "I know color. I'm an oil painter. I mix my own colors right here on the palette." And so he was already retired, and so he researched and would call pigment companies up and get free samples and experiment. And he says a lot. It was all trial and error, heavy on the error. And he would take notes and make sure he knew what worked and what didn't. And he just started off from there. He was the one that started the square sticks. He's the originator of the square pastel stick, and everybody else would extrude the pastel. Dad was putting the paste into a mold and letting it dry, and we still do that today.
So when did he actually start doing his experimenting and working with developing the pastels?
I would say in the late 90s. And after a while that he was tracking the pigment up through the house, and Mom ran him out of the house, said, "Look," he was, cleaning the carpets every 2 weeks. So she had enough of it. She's, "You're going to have to find a place outside of the house." So around 2005, he found a place and started mixing outside the house, and it slowly developed into a business.
You know what? I think one time he was talking about the fact that he was doing, I believe he was doing a demo for, I want to say it was the, I don't remember. It was like some big established art club or something in the Denver area, and he was doing a little portrait of this gal who was the daughter of the president. And he said he was painting away, and when he stepped back to look at what he had done, he said, "I made her look just like a witch." And he said, so from that time on, he said, so he was like sort of spinning these wheels to correct what he needed to do to make her look a little better. But who knows what she really looked like, right? But anyway, he said, so from that point on, I always start out of my demos with the caveat that we're going to try this, but sometimes there's failures. and so I thought that was really good advice. So for any of us that do demos, that's probably a good mantra to have. And it's like, and I use that. It's like, okay, well, we're gonna I'm gonna give it my best go, but this might not turn out too. So anyway, I thought that was a kind of a great little story that he had. And anyway, so, but yeah, so I think it's so then you came to the company then in 2016, you said, and your dad was ready to retire, and then what have you done differently, and in addition to what he had been doing in the business?
uh, the when he was making them, the sticks weren't uniform. Sometimes they look like Coke bottles. Uh, they would be a little narrower on the end, and I said we need to, fix that. They need to be a certain length, and uh, the edges should be parallel, and so I tried to make improvements there, a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, and really there wasn't, other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of other changes that I made.
One of the things I remember, I don't remember when I first started getting pastels from you guys, but I'm thinking it was in the late 90s. Terry would have this every once in a while, maybe it was once a year. It was like kind of a second sale, and it was like a mystery. So you could buy a box of what, like 18 maybe, and you didn't know what you were going to get. So it was always, and it was, as I remember, the prices were really great, but you'd open up the box, you couldn't wait to get it because you didn't know what you were going to get, and there was always something really interesting in there. So that was,
yeah, we carried that on for a few years, and I don't know why we stopped, but and he would also do garage sales during the summer. He would have the seconds, and he would put them out on a couple folding tables, and local artists would come and buy them at like half price or something.
yeah, that's great. So his when you said that he retired, was he doing something besides art when he retired, or was it when he started doing the pastel manufacturing?
So when I was growing up, he was in insurance. He sold insurance for farmers insurance, and then he retired from that, and then he got into another form of insurance, like dental insurance, and that didn't last long because he came down with leukemia, and it we almost lost him during that. But it's because of the leukemia. Once after he got better, he wanted to use pigments that weren't hazardous. So there's no heavy metals, no cadmiums, no arsenic or anything like that. Because, as he said, he liked return healthy customers.
Yeah, that's a great feature, I think, with your pastels, that I don't know how many people knew that. I mean, I think it's just maybe just assumed that because the pigments are such rich, beautiful colors that they've got to be just loaded with all those heavy metals that make beautiful colors. So I think that's a real credit to your company, that that you guys are on that path of trying to always find something that's less health hazard in this business, because
yeah,
there's plenty of health hazard issues out there.
Yeah.
So can you share with us, Geoff, some of the things that make them less hazardous, and some, without sharing trade secrets, of course, but your production and things like that, kind of take us down that path?
So instead of using cadmiums for the yellows and the reds, we use synthetic pigments. And all our pigments that we whether they're natural or synthetic, they all have a light fastness of 8. On the light fastness is a scale of 1 to 8, 8 being the best. So we make sure that we use strong, colorful pigments. The synthetics are usually, and this goes back to my my jewelry background, spinel based. they can create any gemstone that's available in the lab. And so what they do, spinel is the most refractive gemstone there is, and it's found in all colors of the rainbow. So they'll use a spinel based pigment, and and that's safe. And then they crush that up and grind it up real good. And, so we can use that instead of the harsh chemicals like heavy metals. One time when Dad was first starting out, he had gotten a bag of green pigment. It was a green number 6, and he goes, "See how heavy this is? They tell me it's a heavy metal." I said, "Dad, no, you can't use that." So he went to chromium 3, and that's same pigment that's found in like Palmolive soap. Yeah, so it's safe to use.
So do you have any great stories about your dad that you want to share with the group? And
well, you were just talking about the situation where he made that the model look like a witch. There was another when he was at the Art Students League down in Denver. There was a model who just wouldn't shut her mouth. She just rattled on, and I think he was doing charcoals that night. And when he was all, when they called time, she walked around to see, what everybody did, and he had done her face, but he had put snakes in her hair, and she was not very happy.
that's good. That took care of that.
And quite often he would, when he went to the Art Students League, he would, he was just, to him it was practice doodling, and he would throw it in the trash. And as soon as he would turn around, the students would jump into the trash can and pull it out and keep it and make sure he signed it.
Yeah, that's good. That's great. Mm-hmm. Oh, so Carrie said she'd love to buy a surprise box of seconds. So, if you ever decide to come back with the seconds, with the surprise boxes, I think you'd probably have a great following of people wanting to buy those, because it is so much fun.
Okay. I will have to do that.
And then Natasha asks, she says, what about the quality difference between natural pigments and synthetic? Do the synthetic pigments fade away or change after a while?
No, synthetics are they tend to last just as long as the natural stuff. Like I was talked about the light fastness before. Everything's rated an 8. That being the best on the light fastness scale. So we make sure that all our pigments are long lasting. Yeah,
that's great. So let's see, just synthetics. Oh no, that was just the end of that one. Okay, well, good. So I think you guys have can do a little tour of your space and things like that. Should we do that now, and then maybe that will spur some more questions? And one question, maybe we should answer this one first. It says, can you describe the process of making them? So maybe that would, as you give us a tour, maybe that's something that you could talk through.
Yeah, it's easier to show you, and I'll talk you through it once we get back in the shop and explain it to you. So,
good.
Do that.
Well, let's do a tour.
Okay. All right. You ready, Dina?
You're ready.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Dina.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. We're in Dina's office, so we're going to head down the hallway. And we have different art from different artists that if my folks have either purchased over the years or been given to us. This is Mike Ray, I believe. He's local. He's out in Grand Junction now. And there's our kitchen. And let's see.
Another office.
Yeah, that's our production manager's office, Suzanne. And it's where the bloodhound hangs out.
Yeah, I saw that dog crate there. Yeah, so tell us about the art on the walls too. That's always good to know whose work's hanging, and it looks like you got some nice things, a nice bison there.
Yes. So this one, Dad bought early on. This is done by Penny Creasy. She's also on Grand Junction, and her husband was a Yellowstone park ranger. So she had access to a lot of the wildlife, and so that's where she got a lot of her subject matter. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh. This one over here is this one's a print, but this is Liz Sullivan Haywood.
That's a nice one.
Yeah. And one across the hall here, this is a Tom Christopher. He's out in Iowa, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
There's Marcia. I think that's Marcia Savage.
Yeah, Marcia Savage out. In,
Oh, sorry, that's Sarah St.
Oh,
George.
oops.
Sorry.
We used to have little name tags up for each piece, and when we moved, we never put them back up. So yeah, this is Sarah St. George. She's here local, and she helps with a lot of our ads, in fact. And this is my little office area. I'm out in the hallway. I'm not here very much, so I don't need an office. Okay, this is the shop area. Let's show them the finished product. So this is, once all our sticks are made, this is where all our sticks go. Oh, hold on just a moment. Forgot I had some water running. Turn that off. And so all these sticks that you see along this wall are been sanded and ready to be put into sets that we've got right here.
Zoom in. Hello.
Yeah, you can zoom in. And then the ones that we've got down below, these are sticks that have been made, but haven't been sanded yet. So they're waiting to be sanded and be put in, into the sets. How do I hold this?
Okay. All right.
Tilt it down.
Oh, tilted down. Okay.
So this is for our Dakota orders. We're making these are for the Darks 2 sets that my dad put together, and getting that ready to ship out here in a few weeks. And
Man, Geoff, your darks are just amazing. They're so great and so such a critical necessity of an arsenal of pastels. Just such a wonderful pigment.
well, that's all due to my dad's doing. He's responsible for that. So here's some more sets that we've got going on. They're for wholesale orders and such. And then we've got our extra pigments that we've got up here, and other mixtures.
So Geoff, when you're talking about sanding the pastels, is that is that a big process? I mean, because you put them in molds, right? So is it just making, kind of small sanding to make them perfectly square edges and so on? Is that the idea that
Yeah, so now I've taken you over here to what I call the kitchen area, where everything's mixed. And so this is the cookbook that the recipe book my dad put together. It's got different recipes and such. You can see that. And then the different pigments. Here's our turquoise, if you can see that.
yeah.
And I think we got a green one here. Oh, that one's empty. And so down here we use a lot of the ultramarine blue. And so everything gets mixed here on this on the 5-quart bowl, and it gets weighed out on the gram scale from the recipe book, and then we mix it here on the old Hobart, and once it's all mixed, it then gets placed here on the table. Oop. And it's full of bins right now, but this will be full of like 14 different colors of bowls. And you were asking about the frames. These are the frames, and they get dipped in a mold release. Oh goodness, sorry about that. Doggone it. So they get dipped in a mold release so that when we squish the paste into the frames here, they come out easier. Now I'll take you over to the food dehydrator. And these are sticks that were made yesterday. Oh, I'm having trouble making sure you guys can see that. So these were all made yesterday, and it's still in the frames. And then come Monday, we'll pull these out, and we'll put them all around the table here. And we'll sit down and we'll sand them here on the over a bucket with drywall sanding mesh, and get them prepped for the sets. And all those sticks that you see here, once again, these are colors that have been made, but just are waiting on to be sanded.
So the sanding is all done by hand, basically, right?
It's done by hand, yes.
And then somebody was asking about, how are you protected from the dust when you're sanding them?
Well, we did have OSHA come in a couple years ago, and they ran tests on the air quality here. We are not required to wear masks, but I encourage everybody to wear a mask. When it comes to artists using them, you guys don't really create enough dust to need a mask. But back here, I think we create a lot of dust, especially when we break out the mica. It's the element set. It's got all the sparkles in it.
Mm-hmm.
And when we on that day, it looks like fairy dust everywhere. It gets everywhere.
Yeah.
So I encourage everybody to wear masks. I think half of them do, the other half don't. So
So what do you do with the shavings from the sanding process?
um, on some about half of them we'll save. We'll put a bag in the bucket. We'll put a bag in here, and then we'll save the sandings. I think you can see some of the color that we have in there. Some of them we don't save, but the ones we do save, we put them in a Ziploc bag and store them away in our what I call the library. And when we need to make more of that, or if we just need to make a small batch, we'll pull that bag out, reconstitute it with distilled water, and it comes out great. We can recycle it.
So when somebody buys, your beautiful eggplant pastel,
Yep.
and then you take it brand new out of the box and it slips out of your fingers and bounces once and then crashes into bits and pieces.
Yeah.
You safe to say you can kind of reconstitute that with just adding a little distilled water to it and forming it again into a little, for lack of a better term, a little log, and then let it dry, and you're almost as good as new.
Yep. Always want to use distilled water because the chlorine in your tap water will bleach the pigments out over time. Dad found out about that. He had done several pieces and took them to a gallery up in Breckenridge. And like a month later, they're like, Terry, what's going on with your paintings? They're fading out. And he's like, oh, it's probably the water. So yeah, I always recommend the distilled water. So
somebody, Carrie just commented that your V100 is the best.
oh, thank you.
I tend to agree with you, Carrie.
Well, that's once again a hat tip to my dad. He made that one.
Yeah, that's a beautiful color. Yeah, so that's kind of the process. Now, are you selling any of your sticks open stock with? I know you do it. I know you do at your, if you order direct. But is any company selling those, like Dakota? Can you get open stock from Dakota direct, or not direct? But can you buy open stock from them?
No, we don't have the packaging yet for that. I think when my dad was doing business with Dick Blick, they were selling individual sticks to them, but they were just throwing the sticks in a baggie and putting them, in the box, shipping it off, and the customer would receive just a powder in a baggie. So my folks had to stop selling the individual sticks because we kept getting complaints about how things were handled. So we need to figure out the packaging on the individual sticks so our wholesalers can sell those.
But direct, you can buy individual sticks from you guys.
Yep.
Yeah. So Susie's asking about how many sticks can you make in a week?
Oh. That's a good question. I'm not sure. I haven't tallied that up. A couple thousand for sure. Yeah.
So when you take them, so you mix up the paste in your Hobart, and then you spread that into the mold trays. And are those wooden trays, or are they a plastic, or?
They're kind of a two-part epoxy mold. It's one of the things that I learned in the jewelry business. We did a lot of mold making in jewelry business, and yeah, it's essentially epoxy, a two-part epoxy we put into a mold, and it hardens.
And then how do you get them out of the mold? I mean, is it like you flip it over onto I mean, obviously you put something over it, right? And then they release pretty easily.
Let me find one here. It's a silicone and it's real flexible. This is my back room. This is really dirty back here. So here's a frame or a mold. Let me get it out in the light a little bit. And so as you can see, it's very flexible.
Mm-hmm.
And but the frame itself will be hard and it'll pop out. So yeah, once it hardens, we can just pop that out.
And somebody's asking, are you planning on expanding your color line?
We're planning on creating some new colors right now. It might be a little bit before they come out, but yeah, we're working on that because we know everybody loves new colors. Can't have enough, right?
That's right. Yeah, so I think the first first set that I bought from you guys was the Southwest set.
Oh, okay.
And it was because I was doing a residency down in southern Utah, and living up in the Northwest. Obviously, we all know that the color palette's so different.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, that was a godsend because those colors were so true to what was in the actual landscape.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell me a little bit about how you have developed those sets with things with colors that are so relevant to the locale.
So how did we come up with making a set?
Yeah, I mean, for instance, I mean those sets that are like in the Southwest set. I mean, it's all it's so true to the colors that are in nature in that part of the country.
Right.
And I know that the same thing for other areas that you guys have done. So, I mean, how did you determine? How did you come up with those specific colors? And because those have been around. I mean, I'm sure that was in the time that your dad was.
Yeah, that
sets.
Southwest set. That was an old set, and I think it's since been discontinued. We still may have the index for that, but I remember looking at this sunrise sunset set, and I asked Dad. I said, "Dad, how did you come up with this? How do you figure out? How do you color match something out of the sky?" And he goes, "Google. You just Google an image, and then you dissect different parts of the picture, and you color match that part of the picture."
Yeah, interesting.
It made me laugh, and it was so simple. Google.
Google it. Of course, you can Google anything, right? What did we do without Google?
I know it.
So somebody is asking, is there a minimum number of sticks for direct purchase?
Yes, one. You have to at least order one.
Okay. That's a good minimum.
Well, with the shipping, you probably want to throw in a few more, but
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your I probably have an idea of what this is, but what's your biggest selling color? Maybe your top 5 best selling colors.
Well, I'm sure it's no surprise that the V100 is our best. seller. And then oddly enough, the black and then the white. And then I'm not sure what goes from there, but those are our top 3 best sellers.
So forgive me for not knowing the answer to this, but are you guys doing like a set of whites, like warm whites and cool whites or anything along those lines? I know some manufacturers do that.
No, we just came out with a grayscale, going from white to black, but we're not. No, I haven't thought about that. That's a good idea. We'll write that down.
Well, it's very really interesting to to work with some of those sets that companies have put together that are the warm and cool whites. And I think it's always surprising to see just what pigment is in those, that there's a blue white and green white and that sort of mix to make whites. I always think about, because I like to paint snow, and how many colors you see in snow, like specifically in the shadows of snow. There, you can look at some. I mean, I'm just looking at a Jacob Aguiar painting that I have of his.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of colors in those, in that snow, in the snow.
Right.
And so anyway, well, I your whole color palette, I think, is just such beautiful, rich colors. And
well, thank you.
It's really fun to see, that those back room views of your production and how that all happens. So from start to finish, Geoff, if you're mixing up a batch of turquoise, from the time you start putting the pigments in the Hobart till it's ready to go out into a box to be shipped off to a wholesaler, or on your shelf ready to sell as individual sticks, what's the time frame on that, and kind of go through that process of how long it takes to do those different elements of the
if we're in a hurry, we can some of them we can get them produced in 24 hours. Some of the colors have to sit overnight before we put them in the food dehydrator, because they tend to shrink up more. So it could be 48 hours. But that's that's if we're in a really, really hurry, rush. But sometimes with a special order that comes over, we'll have a call for that, and we'll rush it out, and it'll take us about 48 hours to make and then ship out.
So when you say that some of the colors shrink, is that you'll see that shrinking in the mold itself, or?
Yeah. So let me see if I can find the. So let's see if I can get this without this falling down. So I don't know if you can see, the paste is somewhat pulled away from the frame.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certain colors that will really shrink up hard. And to help prevent that, we'll let it air dry. And that's what these up here are doing. These colors are they air dried. We made them yesterday, air dried over the night, and then I'll put them in tonight into the food dehydrator, and hopefully they won't shrink too much on us.
So typically, how long do you put something in the pigments in the dehydrator?
Oh, it's just overnight.
Mm.
Yeah. So about 8 hours. I'll turn the food dehydrator on just as we leave, and then sometimes it's still running by the time we get here, and then we'll turn it off and pull them out and start sanding.
Yeah, quite a production.
Yeah. It's not quick and fast, like most of the pastel companies. They'll extrude it through, like a sausage extruder or something. Um, Dad just didn't do it that way, and I think somewhere along the line, I think because we do it a little differently, we get a little bit better, a different softness, a different texture, because of we're doing it different.
So Geoff, can you answer this? What makes the difference in the hardness and the softness of the pastels, and what makes there's sometimes I always think like the colors that are very close to black, they have a little bit different consistency than some of the other colors, and I don't know if it's like the additives that are added to those, like those blacks, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes the difference, and how do you control what's going to be a hard, or the hardness and the softness of a soft pastel?
So it could be the binder. So we might, if it's too hard, we'll back the binder off. That's about all we can really do, is play with the binder a little bit. And there might be, you might be able to throw a little denatured alcohol in it to make things blend and mix better. But other than that, there's not too much else you can do.
And do you always use the same binder?
For the most part, yes, we do.
Is that a trade secret?
Yeah, that's the one house secret.
Okay. Somebody's asking, are you working on several different colors on the same day? And what kind of filtration do you use?
So the filtration we did install when we moved in here, the guy who put the filtration system in did it wrong. He engineered it wrong. He just used straight pipe all the way through, where every time you make a Y in the pipe, those new pipes have got to be half the size of where it came off. Well, he didn't do that. So that system never really worked. So we just use masks. Sometimes, like on the weekends, I'll be in that back room. I'll have a whole stack of sticks that didn't come out, and I'll run them through a Cuisinart, and then I'll rebag it. But that gets that whole back room will fill up with dust, and I'll have a respirator, and that's what saves me from silicosis or something like that. So
yeah. So how many different colors? They asked how many, how are you working on several different colors on the same day, or do you have to restrict that to a day of blues? And
it's kind of nice if we can just kind of keep it to one color, but no, we can jump around, make we'll make anywhere from 14 to 16 bowls, and those colors can vary from blues to yellows to reds. It depends on what we need. Yeah.
So getting back to you, when you were saying you were putting the pigments in the Cuisinart, are you reconstituting them then to make them into new sticks?
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I can take you what I call the library. So show you all the bags of sticks. So this is what I call the library.
All right.
And it's
Colors.
so these are the purples, and they're all second sticks that didn't turn out. They had, huge holes, or the consistency wasn't right, and we're able to correct it later on. And so I turn it back into powder and reconstitute it with the distilled water. See, here's a whole batch of V100 ready to go.
Wow. So do you create different values of a color when you're working on one specific color?
Not typically. I think that's how most pastel companies do it, and Dad didn't do it that way. It makes sense to do it that way, but it kind of limits you to what colors you can make. Different varieties. So I think we've got more variety, and although we are working on it, our production manager Suzanne, she wants to be able to do color gradation, like from dark to light on certain colors. So, but typically Dad didn't do that. No.
So you basically have a recipe for every value of one color that you use, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is really interesting to see your production and what you go through, and it's really it's just nice to see that it's such a process that is such a hands-on process, I guess, is the best way to explain it. That it's just like, it's not like a big mass-produced something out of a giant factory that,
right.
You guys are putting a lot of love and sweat and tears into this whole process and creating these wonderful colors.
It's true. Yeah. I think there's 8 employees altogether, and they're all artists of one form of another, and they love the colors, and they love what they do, and yeah, it's a lot of hands-on work, handmade.
Are you glad that you made the transition from jewelry to pastels?
I am. It's allowed me to do things that I wouldn't have been when I was working for someone else, and I meet so many neat people. I get to see their work, and to see what they do with the tools we make, and how happy it makes them. Yeah.
Do you paint it all, Geoff?
I've taken some classes, but I'm in here so much. I have access to some wonderful teachers. I just don't have the time. I spend too much time in here, to tell you the truth.
because you're running a hands-on handmade business.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that you continue to enjoy what you're doing, and you have to know that I think that people certainly appreciate the beautiful pastels that Ludwig Pastels makes.
I hear it a lot. Yeah.
The care that's given, and the pigment quality is just outstanding.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
And so I don't know if anybody has any other questions. We're coming up on just about an hour. I've got some people are saying thanks for the wonderful presentation of how my favorite pastels are made. That was Chris Sullivan that said that. Patrice says, love the colors. I, for one, consider them my absolute favorite pastels. That's Vicky. Hi, Vicky. How are you? Anyway, I'm another one. I'm a huge fan. I love so many of your colors. Marcia said, these are my favorite pastels and I prefer the rectangular shapes over other brands. And I think that's a big deal because, you've got that nice hard edge that is great for doing little detailed work. And, that's great. Lot of, the edges. Somebody's asking, do you have a sparkling white?
We do. Yeah. Let's see.
And what is that number?
Let's go over here to the finished product, because I think we made some the other day. There it is. It's the E010. I don't know if you can see the sparkles in there.
There's I have one, and I don't know what the number is off the top of my head, but there's a really light yellow that has sparkle.
Oh yeah.
That is, I've used that in some winter scenes that
I think
is a beautiful color.
We only got one of those right now. The E040. Yep. Must be a popular color.
Well, it's a great, it's a wonderful color. But Marcia's asking, one of your greens seems to have an iridescent quality or a sparkle in the painting. Is that something with mica, or is it just her imagination?
We do have a light green one that has the mica in it. I don't have any right here. We need to make those. But I want to make a dark one, like a Kelly green with some gold flakes in it. I think that would be great for like a hummingbird or something.
Oh,
but
yeah, feather detail.
We didn't. I think we've got about 14 or 18 colors with the mica in them. I get a lot of feedback from the employees. They come up with some great ideas, and thank goodness I listened to them. I thought the mica sticks would be kind of I don't know. I didn't take it serious, and they said, "Oh no, we need to do it," and so we made them, and they were right. I'm so glad I listened to them. Yeah,
that's a sign of a good boss. I think I think Marcia asked, and she says, "Oh, I'm sure she's referring to the green." She said, "It's a beautiful in a water scene with rocks under the water."
Okay.
Susie says it's such a treat to receive those small sparkling charms that you give with some of the sets or the special offers.
Oh yeah, okay. And yeah, we do. I think I got some of the hearts here. Yes, that was something my dad did. He loved doing a little something different and giving away the hearts.
Oh, that's a sweet, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Vicky says she treasures her heart. I bet she's not using it. I bet it just sits on her desk, on her palette. Mariana's asking, what is the number of the whitest white?
That's the number on that is the N005. Yep.
Great. Well, Geoff, this is our hour is coming to a close, and if you've got any final words of wisdom or anything for the audience, go ahead and share those with us. And
paint what you love and do it often.
that's really good advice. Because and paint what you love, then you're going to get the best results. That's
right.
probably what you know the best, right?
That's right.
Well, I thank you so much, Geoff, for your time, and Dina for doing the tour. And so to the audience and everybody, the Out of Bounds show, everybody that got into that exhibit should have gotten their acceptance, and that's going to be a fun show, I think, to see at Morro Bay Center for the Arts. And then we've got Tony Elaine's workshop in the middle of April with that. So
he's fun.
And I'm sorry that I'm not going to be able to get to that workshop, but there'll be another time, I'm sure. And I guess that's it. So our next We Talk Art is going to be in May, and I believe it's on Sunday the 18th or the 18th, and that's going to be with Richard McKinley.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So anyway, it's been a real pleasure to visit with you, Geoff, and you sharing with us your whole process.
Thank you, Geoff.
And I can't thank you enough.
Thank you for coming.
And thank you everybody who's joined in. And I see Marcia. I'm sure you're going to the big show in Montana next week. Best of luck. Hope you sell everything. And for all the rest of you, keep painting and enjoy this whole art process that we're immersed in. And thankfully, we've got people like Geoff out there that are giving us these great tools to work with. So thanks, everybody. Great to see you all. Take care.
Happy painting.
Thank you. Thanks, Geoff. Thanks, Bonnie. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.